Histories of the 434th Air Refueling Wing and Grissom Air Reserve Base are long and industrious, both of which trace their beginnings back to the year 1943. Base history began on January 1st, 1943, when it was opened by the U.S. Navy as Bunker Hill Naval Air Station. During World War II, the airfield served as a training base for thousands of Navy, Marine Corps, and Coast Guard aviators. On January 30th, 1943, the 434th Troop Carrier Group was founded at Alliance Army Airfield, Nebraska. It received C-47 aircraft and personnel, and formed the 71st, 72nd, 73rd, and 74th Squadrons for airborne and glider towing operations.
During World War II, the unit dropped glider troops in Normandy, France, air-supplied U.S. Third Army as it raced across France, dropped glider troops in Operation Market Garden, airdropped troops in Operation Varsity, and conducted air supply and aeromedical evacuation operations throughout Europe. The 434th was awarded a Presidential Unit Citation for outstanding performance during the war.
The 434th was inactivated just after World War II. However, it was later reestablished as an Air Force Reserve unit at Stout Field, Indiana, and then at Atterbury Air Force Base, Indiana. In 1946, the Bunker Hill Naval Air Station was closed and returned to use as farmland and a civilian flight school.
With the outbreak of the Korean War, the airfield was acquired by the Air Force and was reopened as Bunker Hill Air Force Base on June 22, 1954. Tactical Air Command first operated the base with the 4433rd Air Base Squadron and the 323rd Fighter Bomber Wing. In 1955, the Air Defense Command's 319th Fighter Interceptor Squadron was added.
Called to active service May 1951 at Fort Benning, Georgia, 434th provided airborne training support during the Korean War, flying C-46 Commandos. By February 1953, the unit was demobilized to the reserve at Atterbury Air Force Base. Soon after, it was redesignated 434th Troop Carrier Wing and was provided C-119 flying boxcars to replace the aging C-46s.
The Strategic Air Command arrived in the mid-50s and assumed jurisdiction of the base on September 1, 1957, moving in B-47 bombers of the 305th Bomb Group. The first KC-135 Stratotankers were assigned to the base in 1959. In 1961, the B-58 Hustler supersonic bomber replaced the B-47s.
During the Cuban Missile Crisis, the 434th Troop Carrier Wing was mobilized to support Air Force missions from 28 October through 28 November 1962. President Kennedy inspected airmen from the wing while stationed at Homestead Air Force Base, Florida.
After 25 years of bearing the name Bunker Hill, the base was renamed on May 12, 1968, in honor of Air Force Lieutenant Colonel Virgil I. Gus Grissom, a native of Mitchell, Indiana. Colonel Grissom was one of America's original 7 astronauts and was killed during a tragic fire accident in his Apollo capsule at Cape Kennedy, Florida.
Elements of the 434th were mobilized for deployment to Vietnam 1968 to 1969. Those detachments became a Special Operations Unit, providing close air support and specialized cargo transport. Its transport aircraft were converted to AC-119 Shadow gunships. After flying 1,586 combat missions over 6 months in Vietnam, it was demobilized back to the reserve.
Early retirement of the B-58 Hustlers caused the mission change of the 305th on January 1, 1970. The 305th Bomb Group was replaced by the 305th Air Refueling Wing. Grissom Air Force Base mission changed from hosting bombers to tankers. The base became one of the largest KC-135 bases in the nation.
The Air Force Reserve became part of the Grissom community in 1971 when the 434th arrived. The wing's home station, Atterbury Air Force Base, was closed in 1970. On 15 January 1971, the 434th Tactical Airlift Wing was reestablished at Grissom Air Force Base as a Special Operations Unit, acquiring the A-37 Dragonfly attack aircraft, the O-2 Skymaster observation aircraft, and the U-3A Blue Canoe utility transport.
The unit was renamed the 434th Tactical Fighter Wing in 1973, and the unit became the first Air Force Reserve wing to become combat ready with the A-37 aircraft. In 1978, a second Air Force Reserve unit, the 931st Air Refueling Group, joined the scene. At the height of its operations, the base was home to 1 active duty and 2 Air Force Reserve wings, along with their KC-135 Stratotankers and A-10 Thunderbolt II aircraft.
The 434th built a solid reputation of readiness and high performance in the Air Force Reserve at Grissom throughout the 1970s and 80s. April 1981, the wing received the A-10 Thunderbolt II with a ground attack mission until July 1987.
The wing was then redesignated the 434th Air Refueling Wing, swapping the A-10s for KC-135 tankers. In 1990, the 434th ARW joined with tanker forces supporting coalition combat operations during the Persian Gulf War. The wing performed more than 7,000 refueling missions and offloaded fuel to more than 25,000 receiving aircraft.
June 1992, 434th Air Refueling Wing and the 930th Tactical Fighter Group merged KC-135s and A-10s to form the first ever Reserve Composite Wing. This new unit, the 434th Wing, conducted combined aerial refueling and close air support missions. Inactivation of the 930th Operations Group in 1994 saw the loss of the A-10s and returned the wing's designation to the 434th Air Refueling Wing in October 1994.
Due to changes in the Air Force mission, 2 units, 1 reserve, 1 active duty, deactivated in 1994. In October of that year, Grissom was realigned as an Air Force Reserve command facility, with the 434th becoming the host unit.
While the Air Force has the largest contingent of personnel at Grissom, it is also home to organizations from other branches of America's armed forces. The Army Reserve arrived at Grissom in the 1970s, and a Marine Corps Reserve unit relocated to the base in 2001.
The 434th Air Refueling Wing is currently the largest KC-135R Stratotanker unit in the Air Force Reserve Command and continues to operate out of Grissom.
Today, the 434th Air Refueling Wing's mission statement is to provide air refueling and combat-ready forces. Our vision: ready when called, empower, develop, innovate.